Olá, boa tarde. Meu nome é Vanessa, trabalho no Itaú, fico aqui em Nova York, sou responsável por tecnologias emergentes. Então, o que eu faço aqui? Eu busco startup, fintech, novas tecnologias e conecto com as áreas de negócio e áreas de esporte, áreas de tecnologia dentro do Itaú. E dentro dessa parceria, tem aí um programa legal, importante para o banco, junto com a área de veículos e o próprio icarros, falando sobre como que a tecnologia impacta o futuro da mobilidade. Bonza.
Bom, olá pessoal, tudo bem? Boa tarde, quase boa noite aqui em São Paulo. Eu sou Ricardo Bonzo, sou CEO do icarros. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês, nesse ano tão diferente, que foi 2020, onde a pandemia acabou nos isolando um pouquinho, né, Vanessa? Um negócio que começou em julho de 2019, em Nova York. A gente tinha acabado de fazer um evento de eletrificação, corrida de carros elétricos em Nova York. Num jantar à noite, a Vanessa estava presente e a gente teve a ideia de realizar o primeiro summit, né, Van, que a gente ia fazer, que fizemos em Nova York no final do ano passado. Esse ano, o que a gente esperava fazer, Vanessa?
Esperávamos montar o mesmo evento em São Francisco, agora fazendo no West Coast, trazendo as startups também de São Francisco e trazendo o público do Brasil, os clientes aqui do Itaú também dos Estados Unidos, mas infelizmente, ou felizmente, agora ele está remoto, o que possibilitou também a gente trazer um público maior, outras startups de outros lugares. No ano passado a gente trouxe só do Brasil e aqui dos Estados Unidos, esse ano nós teremos startups de Israel, da China, além de startups do Brasil e dos Estados Unidos também, e um público também, né, around the world, e empresas de tecnologia, os nossos parceiros do Itaú de tecnologia, também de outras unidades, de outras localidades, vão poder participar remotamente aqui com a gente.
Eu acho que essa é a parte mais legal do evento, que democratizou, esses eventos que às vezes eram presenciais e limitavam os acessos. Hoje a gente está fazendo essa transmissão ao vivo pelo canal do YouTube do icarros. A gente tem, pelo que a gente tinha na lista, tinham mais de 3 mil pessoas inscritas para o evento. A gente vai ver de fato agora quantos estão assistindo. E o mais legal de tudo, para vocês ficarem muito tranquilos, é um evento que a gente vai ter speakers, palestrantes que falam inglês, mas vocês não precisam se preocupar, porque o evento tem tradução simultânea do inglês para o português, e para os palestrantes que falam inglês, também vai ter tradução simultânea do português para o inglês, caso eles estejam escutando alguma declaração, como a gente está fazendo agora, em português. Vanessa?
Isso aí. Não, só para lembrar que a gente tem o hashtag, do Itaú Mobility 2020, para que todo mundo aí consiga mobilizar as redes sociais e divulgando o nosso evento também.
A gente gostaria muito que vocês aproveitassem esses 3 dias de evento. Hoje é o primeiro dia, a gente tem o evento amanhã e depois de amanhã. São agendas que vão acontecer hoje, amanhã e na quarta-feira, das 5 às 7 horas da noite. São 2 horas, com assuntos que vão de mobilidade, eletrificação, e vai passar por outros temas que envolvem um pouco do futuro que a gente, como cidadão, de grandes cidades, grandes metrópoles, e olhando a parte de mobilidade e de transporte urbano. É isso que a Vanessa falou, a gente tem palestrantes dos Estados Unidos, de Israel, do Brasil, de vários lugares. Tem alguns teasers que eu não vou poder contar aqui, mas assistam todas as palestras, que tem um assunto muito legal e muito diferente que vai ser divulgado nesse evento de hoje.
Isso aí. A gente pode agora anunciar o nosso grande Alexandre Zancani para fazer a nossa abertura.
Vamos convidar o Alexandre Zancani, que é diretor executivo no Itaú, certo? Responsável pelas operações de veículo, crédito imobiliário, consórcio. Zancani, e o que mais, Zancani? Aí você faz uma introdução, uma apresentação rápida de você e a gente deixa o palco livre para você fazer a sua abertura hoje no primeiro dia do evento.
Legal, Bonzo, legal, Vanessa. Muito bacana estar aqui participando desse meu primeiro evento. Na verdade, também é meu primeiro ano de Itaú. Acabei de completar um ano aqui de casa e participando desse evento aqui, que já vai virando uma tradição e cada vez mais tecnológica, Esse ano a gente digital aqui, participando online, e acho que a boa notícia é ter uma audiência cada vez maior, E poder compartilhar as novidades, ideias, e esse debate mesmo ativo aqui sobre toda a cadeia de mobilidade com um grupo cada vez maior que faz parte dessa indústria. Então, só aqui me apresentando, eu sou Alexandre Zancani, eu sou diretor executivo do banco, responsável por todos os negócios aqui de varejo que tem uma cadeia de distribuição mais vertical. Então, todo o ecossistema de mobilidade, financiamento de veículos, a parte de payments também aqui de veículos com a Connect Car está comigo, toda a parte também de cadeia de habitação, né, com financiamento imobiliário, consórcio, que também tem muito a ver com essas duas indústrias aqui, enfim, e todo mundo aqui todas as iniciativas mais digitais novas do Itaú, principalmente ali com a nossa carteira e conta digital, que é o IT. Mas vamos ao tema principal aqui, né? Eu vou fazer uma abertura, não sou o maior especialista do tema, mas é um tema que me entusiasma muito, né? Falar de mobilidade, igual falar da indústria financeira, é falar de um setor que está num turbilhão de mudança, né? E estar num ambiente onde as mudanças acontecem, eu não sei para vocês, mas para mim dá um frio na barriga, mas é menos medo e mais excitação em relação a fazer parte de todas essas mudanças. Eu sei que aqui o grosso da audiência faz parte dessa indústria de mobilidade e nós aqui no caso do Itaú fazemos parte das duas, sendo protagonistas importantes na evolução da cadeia de mobilidade no Brasil e também fazendo a junção aqui desse tema com toda a parte de soluções financeiras que a nossa aqui. E quando a gente fala das mudanças, eu acho que é comum a 4 mudanças principais. Né? Por que é um setor que está em mudança? Primeiro, porque acho que aqui é uma máxima que vale para todos os setores. A gente está num momento onde as expectativas dos clientes estão mudando muito. E para toda estar para a gente.
Zancani, eu acho que a gente está tendo um problema técnico com a tua transmissão, com o teu áudio. Você consegue voltar um pouquinho na sua fala, por gentileza? Zancani? Pessoal, transmissão ao vivo é exatamente isso, né? A gente, infelizmente, às vezes é refém da internet. O que não acontece no presencial, que é mais limitado, acaba acontecendo às vezes na transmissão ao vivo. O Zancani teve algum problema, alguma intercorrência aqui de conexão, a gente já está verificando com ele o que está acontecendo. Vamos ver se ele volta em um segundinho e a gente já dá continuidade. Zancani, está me ouvindo?
Estou sim.
Eu acho que a Vivo passou a perna em você, gerou uma instabilidade e deu uma travada na internet. Travou mais ou menos uns 30, 40 segundos atrás, cara, na sua fala. Se você quiser continuar.
Tá bom, vamos lá. Eu percebi que eu continuava falando aqui, mas eu não via mais ninguém se mexendo. Vocês me avisam aí se der o problema de novo. Mas, enfim, eu vinha falando que os 4 principais motivos da mudança, né, uma mudança clara de expectativa dos clientes, uma mudança clara na tecnologia e o que ela viabiliza na cadeia toda, uma característica de novos entrantes na indústria, né, e uma redefinição completa aqui, principalmente de modelos colaborativos, né, toda a parte de ecossistemas, parcerias, JVs, isso fica evidente que é algo que está florescendo na nossa indústria. E se a gente for pensar desses 4 elementos que causam mudança, o que a gente pode esperar para o futuro? Acho que tem cenários distintos aqui. Talvez seja os próprios já participam dessa indústria, dividindo essa pizza de uma forma cada vez mais contínua. A gente pode ter uma participação cada vez maior de startups também. Um cenário é uma competição mais predatória e o outro seria um reforço dos maiores competidores.
Zancani. Ixi. Pessoal, tá?
Olá.
Ele caiu. Zancani. Zancani. Me escuta?
Oi. Escuto.
Tá, deu uma travada, assim, quando você está falando dos maiores competidores, travou a internet. Tenta cortar, se você tiver com a VPN do banco aberta, corta a VPN do banco, porque ela chupa uma banda razoável, viu? É melhor derrubar o VPN do banco, acho que funciona melhor.
Tá bom. Bom, aqui agora eu já nem sei mais até que parte que vocês pegaram, mas assim, o meu papel aqui é mais fazer essa abertura, falar um pouco das tendências que eu vejo em relação a um setor que está em plena mudança, compartilhar com vocês que é nosso papel e vontade aqui do Itaú de ser um protagonista dessa indústria em transformação. E a gente encara, né, essa mudança tecnológica. Eu gosto de fazer uma analogia com o time. Tem muita gente que vê esse cenário de mudança, de tecnologia, às vezes como um fantasma, né, uma possibilidade de algo que nos ameaça. E eu gosto de fazer a analogia que eu não vejo essa evolução tecnológica num cenário como um exterminador do futuro, né, uma tecnologia que vai acabar com os nossos empregos, com os nossos negócios, com nossos modelos de negócio. O que eu gosto de fazer analogia é muito mais com a cara do homem de ferro. A tecnologia ajudando o homem, ajudando aos players que estão dispostos a se adaptar aqui e a desenvolver novas formas de se associar para que a gente consiga fazer mais negócios usando o que a tecnologia tem de melhor e levando principalmente soluções cada vez mais cômodas, melhores e que atendam mais as necessidades dos nossos clientes que estão subindo bastante a barra aqui nas expectativas. Então, dados os problemas de internet aqui, vamos resumir essas grandes mensagens. Eu queria falar mais uma vez que é um prazer estar abrindo esse evento. Quero desejar muito sucesso a todos. Espero que vocês tenham um final de tarde, uma noite aqui com muita informação, muita riqueza para se planejar aqui para os próximos desafios que nos aguardam. E é isso aí. Bom, é com você agora.
Zancani, muito obrigado. Desculpa, a gente tem que pedir desculpa mesmo, porque como a gente organiza o evento, né, mesmo que a gente não tenha responsabilidade sobre a latência da internet na sua casa, assim, desculpa pelas interrupções. Foi muito legal a mensagem. Eu acho que você veio para o banco recentemente, está trilhando um caminho de inovação super legal no Itaú, né, transformando mesmo a estrutura interna do banco para ela estar preparada para responder no tempo adequado e na velocidade adequada que os nossos clientes demandam, né? O cliente pessoa física e o cliente pessoa jurídica, né? E eu acho que o que a gente vai passar hoje no evento é bastante sobre essas transformações e isso vai ficar muito claro porque que o banco está transformando. Te agradece muito, Zancani, a tua participação. Se você puder ficar com a gente para assistir o evento, vai ser uma honra ter aqui você conosco, tá? Muito obrigado, Zancani. E a gente vai chamar daqui a pouquinho o primeiro palestrante.
Valeu, Bons. Um grande abraço aí. Boa sorte.
Um abraço, Zancani. Tchau, tchau. Bom, pessoal, muito obrigado. O Zancani falou um pouquinho, bem rapidinho, sobre os principais motivadores, né, do Itaú e de tudo que ele está fazendo ali dentro. E agora a gente vai já começar o nosso primeiro painel, o que são Smart Cities, né? A gente vai ter uma introdução de 10 minutos pela Bettina, da Gartner. Ela é uma especialista em Smart Cities da Gartner e vai estar fazendo essa introdução. Hello, Bettina, how are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me this day.
Thank you, Bettina. I just forget to give a tip in Portuguese to our viewers. Just a second. Esse painel agora é em inglês, tá, pessoal? Então, logo abaixo de onde vocês estão assistindo, tem um link para tradução simultânea, tá, de inglês para português. Quem não tiver confortável em assistir em inglês, pode clicar nesse link e você vai escutar tudo que a Bettina estiver conversando em português. Bettina, I pass the ball to you now, so you have the word. Now have a really good panel, and it's a pleasure to have you on board in this event tonight.
Thank you so much again. Unfortunately, I don't speak Portuguese. I'm German, so I could actually submit my speech in German, but I don't think it will be any more helpful than in English. I'm really delighted today to speak about the topic of smart city. And for that, I prepared some slides that I would like to share with you today. And I want to start with the question around what does smart city actually represent? Because smart is a rubber band. And the rubber band could mean that within a smart city future, we could actually talk about many different interpretations depending on who you are, what your background are. Are you in IT, or are you a citizen that is a philosopher? Are you a university student? Are you an older person that thinks about smart in many different ways? So the question really becomes, what does smart really mean? Does smart mean maybe mobility for self-driving cars? Or more contextualized, relaxed citizen services? Does, in the context of transportation, smart actually needs safety for riders, especially now in COVID times? Or is it just about real-time scheduling? And this is not enough. Does it mean that we have to now talk in smart terms with different stakeholders in different ways? So you can see that we will need a lot of visualization of what that term smart city means for different parts of the society, for IT, for business, and so on. So in that context, we actually see that especially in COVID time, mobility became so important, and that by the year 2020, the year end, the visualization of the impacts of mobility-related urban services will be incorporated in many of the smart city execution roadmaps. And that is exciting, because then smart becomes more meaningful within our context of our cities, the context of our population and society, the business, the sustainability that we want to drive to our society, and also for our future of quality of life going forward. So what is the status today of smart cities? Many of the cities today have actually embarked on wonderful journeys around waste management and streetlights and public safety and video surveillance. And while we have been implementing these type of projects, they have been very limited towards operational excellence, maybe parts of an execution strategy towards energy efficiency, better ways of hailing a taxi, and so on. But when we really speak about that connection between technology and people with our ambitions and aspirations for a better life, we actually need to start to think more about a group and engagement level kind of activity. So here, what we see is that you have government, industry, citizen, entrepreneurs, universities coming together, defining the entire mission or vision of what smart means for our cities. And by the way, also urban corridors, because sustainability doesn't end at city borders, nor does good education or health. So we need to come together in an ecosystem, in a partnership environment, in a community. That's what a city is all about. And really start to exchange best practice, community sharing activities, maybe some business potentials, because now we share aspects of vehicles, assets that are in a city, maybe business opportunities for small or medium-sized businesses. And so we start to create all these adjacent smart services that are not only smart in the sense of the city, but also contextualized towards the community, these stakeholders that are active participants in here. Let me give you an example. This is actually a wonderful example of the city of Copenhagen. Copenhagen had actually started to be a smart city many years ago, but then it just reinvented itself and actually wants to be much a sustainable city. So it started to build a lot of technology and sensors to really, what you see down here, address very specific citizen issues like waste bins, like unsustainable energy and resource waste. And because of the data and the information and the engagement that we saw between waste organizations, electronic boards and messages, streetlights that actually were dimming and becoming brighter when females or tourists are walking underneath it. Actually, now you have a vibrant ecosystem that portrays not just technology, but the impact that it can have on people. So especially since we're talking about mobility in the post-COVID time, we actually see a lot of intelligence, connections, and smartness coming together in what we would call, how will people actually be more resilient, given that we face post-pandemic issues. And we come to 3 different areas of activities in smart cities. The first one is space. So if you think about the mobility of the future, we actually see about a whole range of different walkways, streetways, spatial times, geospatial times of development, where buildings, streets, walkways, sustainability become actually connected within the way we're moving from one end of the city to another. But we also look at space from a perspective of resilience when we talk about how can we harvest water. Like this image of New York City is a bioswale that actually connects runoff water into drainage, because there's nothing worse to have puddles of water that are actually stopping traffic and have people wade through when they connect from one street to the other. The other part is the true meaning of mobility. And especially in COVID times, where we look at a lot of data and how people are actually moving around, we actually start to see a lot of analytics around how people will be using individual transportation, like bikes, like autonomous car, like pop-up bike lanes. We see an immense amount of pop-up bike lanes actually coming into play, because people want to divert their commute from just overcrowded buses into something better, and which, by the way, is also healthy. And then there's a social contract and inclusion when it comes to smart city and mobility, because it is not just about good waste selection, but it's really about connecting communities with places of work, especially if you have disadvantaged people living in social housing. Busing, good street and transportation connection, not just for people that do shift work, but also for older people, become an inclusion criteria. So we need to not only look at better scheduling, but how to move people from one end of the city to the other. And then, of course, also pricing and signaling and scheduling. This is what you can see on your application type of environment. So you see that all of a sudden in smart city, mobility is not just traffic. Mobility becomes opportunity, inclusion, and the strategy for a sustainable future going forward. And data plays a lot of impact on this. This is actually an image from the island of Manhattan. And each of the squares that you see here actually represents a building. And the data of the building is actually allocated and aggregated from multiple different sources, whether it is an open data portal, maybe it's a real estate data portal, maybe it is about permitting, street traffic, green spaces, and so on. So what you can see here is that a lot of data can be actually aligned to locations and actually help renovations, emergency response. In COVID time, again, there are many opportunities to help along here. So data becomes very, very important. But data is also a thrust for peer-to-peer economy. So we're talking about social economy, shared services. And it is an opportunity for cities to crowdsource intelligence and bring it into a more community-driven approach, whether that is about environment, where we look at air quality monitoring through crowdsourcing, whether it's about sharing home goods, sharing space. Of course, Airbnb is a good example to it. So you can see that in a smart community, it is about technology, but it's also about how we're applying data. And here's the challenge for you for the discussion of the day. We talk a lot about the advanced type of technologies, advanced type of data, but it brings an issue of data trust. Because not everybody actually is in sync with data sharing immensely across the broader ecosystem. So the challenge is for governments, for institutions to really understand where does the data trust in the community resides, and we have to make data relevant for the talk track, for the perceived needs today. So with this, I hope I inspired you to think a little bit out of the box, a little bit not just about technology, but about uses. And with no further ado, I would like to introduce Carlos and Mateus on stage as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bettina. This was a very uplifting presentation. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Smart cities, no doubt, have been, people have been talking about smart cities for, a few decades, and it's great to see things finally coming along. So the conversation today we'll try to touch on angles of what works, what doesn't, how do you accelerate, right? What are some of the challenges? I believe most of us are from Brazil or related to Brazil, which is a developing economy. We have some very big cities, which are a mess. I'm originally from São Paulo. São Paulo floods every summer, no doubt. And I'm 50 something, and to date they haven't been able to fix this issue, right? And you would hope that with the technology available, that's out there. The basically society would have been able to solve that, right? So I think that's probably a good example of a dumb city, not a smart city, because the technology is there, and it's a matter of putting the pieces together. So, so as you mentioned, smart city touches many vectors. It touches public safety. It touches resource optimization, connectivity for citizens. And of course, transportation, which is the core of the presentation or the discussion today, and the theme of the conference, right? So we'd like to talk about that, but at the end of the day, it boils down to improved quality of life, and again, resource optimization. And we all know about the trifecta going on in this sort of the auto industry. Mateus works for FCA, Fiat Chrysler. First the on-demand, right? So Uber and the likes of Uber have become a reality over the last decade. The second is, so on-demand. The second is We're getting to eventually autonomous vehicles. It's going to be a while to get there, but there's a lot of progress already. And lastly, electrification of vehicles, which will reduce pollution and use of fossil fuels. So with that backdrop, you know, you provided some examples. I heard Copenhagen. Do you have Gartner is a global platform, right? You have examples of other cities that are maybe not in as advanced countries that are embracing smart city projects. Maybe you can tell about one or two.
Oh, absolutely. And I always, I've covered this market for many years, for 7 years by now. And I think the challenge is that we often Google what is a smart city, and then you have always these 4 cities coming up: Barcelona, Dubai, Singapore, and then your city of choice, basically. And it's because there's a lot of technology and also, quite honestly, digitization and vendor engagement in there. But I would assert that even smaller cities are today starting to think about smart. They may not call it smart, but they really think about what, for instance, a community outreach could look like by applying an application or applying a chatbot. Because especially when you have a diverse range of citizens, you need to have natural language connections to people, even you cannot go into a city hall. There's a lot of smart streetlight examples currently available. If you look in Bogota, they focused on mobility with street light, with bike lanes and with public safety initiatives. So you always have to have the big throw, as we say, but you need to be passionate today. You cannot do it for the technology. You need to be passionate today for illuminating streets so they become safer for students, for females, for retailers, for restaurants. You want to make them more energy efficient. And you have ample examples from Quito to Rio de Janeiro, which was one of the first smart cities, so to speak, portrayed in the narrative. So you have many examples that are starting very slow. And the biggest differentiator for the smartness to occur is really to say, I just don't want to build out a technology implementation for the sake of a silo, but I really want to drive scalable benefit from it. So we talk about information, we talk about data, and especially with autonomous X, we're talking about connection of different assets. So a lot of cities like Singapore, but also Prague in the Czech Republic, they're actually starting with smart parking and journey mapping. So small steps, but are really great in terms of implementation and impact on people.
That's great. Appreciate that. So, so you provided several examples beyond Europe, which is wonderful. And you touch on something. So, most projects have been siloed versus platform projects, open data platforms, right?
Yeah.
And I think the technology is there. There's always the challenge of integration, right? But there's issues around regulation. City regulation always moves slower than technology development. There's issue of worry about data privacy, and you talked about the need about sharing data. And there's probably even issues around business model, right? Who pays for it and who gets to benefit? How do you share the pie? So Mateus, again, FCA is a global company. You sell in Europe, you sell in US, you sell in Brazil. You produce cars for the local markets with some local flavors. Can you tell us how is FCA looking at the opportunity of smart cities? And do you see it differently for example, in France or Italy versus Brazil? Do you develop different products for different countries given the rate of adoption, given some of the local market idiosyncrasies, if you will?
Yeah. Okay, Carlos, thanks for your question. It's a good one. First, let me just thank for all the audience that's watching us today, the time to hear us and the opportunity to share some of the learnings that we have at CA. So it's a really good question. There is no way of talking about mobility without talking about cities. And there is no way to think about FCA without focusing on understanding what are the main changing forces that are happening on the urban mobility. Just to give you some data to understand why are the cities so important to us. So today, the Brazilian country is 86% of its population, it's urban, so they live in cities. And from satellite studies, we have learned that only 1% of the area is considered urban areas in Brazil. So just to give the audience an understanding of how complex it is to talk about cities. So we have 85% of the people living in 1% of the territory in Brazil. So that just gives a little bit of the understanding how difficult it is. But also when we look at on our market, so a couple dozen cities are responsible for more than 50% of our sales. So just again, to understand that although we have many brands that explore outside world, so off-road and terrains, and most of our customers are in cities, and so is our product. So we have learned a lot from some studies that we have conducted on the urban space. And I understand that the best city is the one that respects diversity. So we are talking a lot about diversity today. So diversity matters. So when we talk about mobility itself, so the best mobility system is the one that offers more mobility options for the customers because they have different needs. They need different modes, and they have different expectations. The same way we should look at our own products. So first, we understand that the customer in Brazil, in Latin America, has some demands that perhaps other countries, regions, and continents they don't have. So we have to understand that. But at the same time, we have to understand how we can take profit of a global company and how we can use that in favor of our local customers. So that to say that, yes, we have global strategies, we have global programs, but every time we are working on a product for the Brazilian and Latin market, we try not only to tropicalize it, so just to translate the project to our needs, but how can we start from understanding the customer and adapt the product to him, not only translate or we say tropicalize the product to Brazil. So there is this need of understanding the customer. And when we look at the Brazilian market, we understand that the customer is demanding relationship with all the brands during its mobility journey. So we must understand what moments are these and what brands are these that the customer is demanding relationship and connect them with these brands. Not only on the past, understanding that mobility was something that only happened on the physical world, but now with the digital transformation, mobility also happens on the digital world, and we are able to connect our customer to needs without having to make him move from point A to point B. So with that, our understanding is that the car should evolve not only as a mobility platform, but also as an open platform. How can we use the technology already available there today to help meeting our customer, our city's needs? How can understand new meanings for this platform? Because today we are not a self-contained company anymore. So we have to bleed our brands and products with other brands and start designing an experience that is transparent for the customer, but allows him to have this more broader understanding of mobility. So perhaps it's not about going to a merchant anymore, but it's about bringing commerce inside the car. So once we do that, we give other means, our usage for the car. Perhaps it could help us dealing with many of the problems that we are facing today in our cities. So that's how we are looking at it, Carlos, when we are trying to meet these realities that we are facing in Brazil.
Thank you, Mateus. Bettina, regulation, and I wanted to talk a little bit about regulation and data privacy. What would you say are some of the best practices to sort of address the challenge, this conundrum, right? The fact that, again, regulations tend to move much slower than technology. And at the same time, privacy with GDPR or whatever it is, I know in Europe it's very taken very, very seriously, but it everywhere in the world as well. What would you say? Mayors have typically a 4-year, 6-year mandate, term, if you will, right? It's tough to get stuff done in that sort of period of time. So what would you say some of the best practices for the cities to be able to address these issues?
This is a night-filling question. So just to summarize it, the challenge really is that GDPR, or data privacy regulation, by the way, also cybersecurity, we need to look at when we start to connect assets like vehicles to streetlights and charging stations. So cybersecurity is also a huge a regulatory concern right now. It's not always mandated, or rarely mandated, on a city level, always on a national level. And so you have the disparity of different cities within a country to actually be faster or not so fast when it comes to the implementation or the conversation around data privacy. And if I take my citizen hat on, that citizen hat really looks into how do I trust my government, my service providers, my autonomous vehicle companies to actually apply my data towards service models. If I don't know what these service models entail, let's say Vision Zero, also very common in Brazil, where you look into safety in road traffic for pedestrians and for vehicles. The question really becomes, do I trust the autonomous car to actually brake? Because I'm, as an older person, which is blind, so there's a lot of data that needs to be connected to the vehicle, actually doesn't have the speed to actually move out of traffic. So if I don't know as a user, as a citizen, what my data is being used for, I most likely, if I'm not a digital elitist, will put my handbrakes on. So it's about mayors and government officials to build a strong ecosystem so that they can convince the industry, the stakeholder participant, and the citizenship that a moderate data exchange between platforms, between citizen locations, between devices that I enable to exchange data with the platform, with the asset, actually helps me personally. And I think a lot of cities fail today in driving that conversation. So there are some cities that are actually starting the conversation. New York, for instance, is a very good example that started a conversation around, if we share data, we will actually see better street design development, safer street development. We see more social services for homeless people. So that kind of conversation, because now you open your privacy domain for your personal health records, maybe for location-based attention, will actually support the discussion around how much of the data exchange is needed. So we definitely need to encourage mayors and city governments and municipalities to drive a data contract or social contract with citizens in industry about how data is going to be used. Because let's be clear, if you would ask a citizen about how much data and personal information they disclose on the social media, it is actually immense. So it is not that they don't know, it's what they trust and see the benefit from. So it's a benefit discussion that we need to have.
Very interesting, very interesting. Mateus, let me turn over to you. Similar question. The auto industry traditionally, moves in 5-year cycles. The time to develop a car, and that car, that platform, sort of sticks around for 5 to 10 years, right? And in the tech industry, typically products get refreshed on a yearly basis, right? There's, Bettina talked about data security, right? So the issue of cybersecurity and making sure cars are not hacked. You want a connected car, right? You want this car to be able to talk to the cloud. One of the technologies we at Qualcomm are driving with the industry is called CV2X, which is cellular vehicle to pedestrian or to infrastructure, or vehicle to vehicle, right? So we, in a future, we're going to live in a world where the cars talk to each other. They talk to the traffic light. The traffic light will send a signal, I'm about to turn yellow, so the car automatically starts to slow down, etc. And we're going to get there with 5G technologies, etc. That fabric is being built. But right now, how I know younger customers today buy a car if the car, will accept your, will integrate with your phone, right? More about how fast the car is, how powerful, etc. So how is FCA adapting to this and to this conundrum of, you have cycles that are maybe longer from a development standpoint, in many cases for good reason, right? The car has to be safe and you don't want the liabilities, but at the same time, again, with the technology moving a lot faster. So with Bettina, we talked about regulation. With you, we're talking about technology pace and the industry pace, your industry pace.
Yeah. Thank you, Carlos. Really difficult question that you brought, right? Because culture is so different when we talk about the digital culture and the automotive culture. But when we envision this future that we are talking about, I think there are a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of challenges. And when I see this challenge, I understand that we will need the best we can offer, but also we will need skills, experience, and knowledge that today we don't have in the auto industry. So when I look at this future, for me, it's about collaboration. Because in a world of so much information, a lot of data, it's not about having information anymore. It's having the right information and doing the right understanding of this information. So the capacity of hyper-awareness is something that must be developed in our companies. And when I see that, I understand that the best way to face this challenge that we will have in the future is doing together. That's the reason why we're doing, that's the reason why we look at the car as an open platform. That's why we look at connectivity not only as technology, 3G, 4G, 5G, but the connectivity, understanding that connectivity is also the capacity to operate in a network environment. So it's not about only connecting the car to the mobile phone, the car to the customer, the car to another car, to the infrastructure, but connecting FCA to other and many other companies that will help us, understanding these new cultures, adapting to these new culture, and evolve really fast the products that we are developing today. So when we look at the FCA, that's how we're approaching it. So when we talk about autonomous driving, we understand that's something really on the digital world. That's why we have such a strong partnership with Google. So FCA is main player on the Waymo services, both for personal mobility, for urban mobility, but also for logistics. And we have announced it, and that's how we're doing with the autonomous driving, because we understand perhaps the knowledge, the experience, and the skills that we need to develop this autonomous driving car. We don't have them all, so why shouldn't we do it together with others and learn with them? That's the reason why we have also announced all the partnerships here in Brazil and Latin America with Visa, because we understand payment solution is something really important during the mobility journey. So why shouldn't we have a partner who really understands this business that can help us evolve into that direction? Or when we talk about food and meal on the mobility journey, that's the reason why we have McDonald's today with us, working and understanding how can we, develop this better experience to our customers. So like I said before, I understand that FCA is not a self-contained company. It can't be a self-contained company in such a difficult time and big challenge that we are facing. So we have to understand what brands could help us on this journey, and with them develop these solutions that, again, are transparent and non-invasive to our customers. So they won't really understand when they're moving from FCA to Visa to McDonald's to Waymo. They will do it, in a seamless way. So Carlos, that's how I understand we should approach this challenge, not fighting our reality and our culture, but expanding this with other partners that could help us on this problems that we are discussing today.
It's very exciting to see, you open up and partner with ecosystem at large and develop a much broader solution. Bettina, we have a few minutes left. What's Gartner's vision for, let's fast forward 10 years from now? Are we going to be having autonomous cars? Are we going to be having flying cars? Mateus gave us a peek as to what they're already working on today, right? Which is this connected car with, that is basically an e-commerce platform, among many other things, right? How do you look at, transportation in smart cities, say 10, 15 years from now?
I think it's what Mateus had said. It becomes very contextualized, and the immense amount of data and artificial intelligence will actually allow us to make choices based on, the time of the day or our needs to get a parcel from one place to the other, so last mile logistics. So pop my trunk and use the car in multi-faceted way. But we also see that we will have a whole different virtual world of traveling, which actually requires us, and COVID has shown us very rapidly that we can do it. Mentally, we might not be stable enough to do it, but we can do it, where we actually apply a work at home and work in remote locations, so that we don't need just long transport mechanisms, but we can actually have multimodal, very flexible types of transportation types of environment. A lot of it will be contextualized, it will be gamified. So we see a lot of applications for health that allow the insurance companies to actually bring bonuses to people that ride the car or ride the bicycle instead of the car because of certain instances that are occurring. And absolutely, we're going to fly in some instances as well, maybe not long distances, but for emergency response, I mean, maybe it's future music, as we would say in German, but I think that accelerators like a Hyperloop, like what happens in Singapore and Dubai, will definitely have in certain instances also different types of mobility coming in. I don't know, Mateus, you're laughing, but I mean, this is
No, Bettina, I was laughing because there's so many, fascinating technology coming, and
yes.
definitely that it would, transform so much our lives, our cities, and I do hope that it does for good.
Yes.
Because I usually say that technology is exponential. We should not use exponential technology with our current mentality. Because when I have learned this, expression that when we add exponential technology with current mentality, then we have big problems. They're going to be huge as exponential technology is able to do. So I say that because we talk about flying cars, right? But if we have the mentality of today, we will have congestion in the air because they're happening in the streets. So I do understand that we have, to also get our mentality in the same level of technology to develop better solutions for our citizens and for our customers.
Wonderful. We're coming to the top of the hour here. I want to thank you both for this good discussion. A few great takeaways. It sounds like clearly, it's really happening. Smart cities. It's not rocket science. It's about being open. It's about collaboration. It's about thinking about, again, open data platforms, obviously in a safe way. And working together with partners, a lot can be done and achieved. And we haven't really touched much on COVID, but clearly, I think we've all seen the chart on e-commerce, how decades happened in a few weeks. I think actually this industry too will see a big shift in sort of usage model and whatnot as a result of COVID. So I want to thank you both for the discussion and turn it over back to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mateus, Bettina, and Carlos. It was a great discussion. Thank you again. Now we are going to talk a little bit about logistics. And so the logistic industry is going through a time of rapid and unprecedented transformation. The future of logistics paved with innovation and technology. It was not long ago that ideas like 3D printing, the Internet of Things, drone delivery, augmented reality were things of science fiction. Today, the industry is cautiously adopting these technologies to provide faster, cheaper, more reliable and sustainable delivery. So we are now we're going to have Bruno Henriques, VP of Growth from iFood, that's going to tell us what has been done in iFood on logistics, all the innovation that's being applied. And after his brief presentation, we are going to have a panel with Gustavo Pena, the head of industry from Google, Ho Jun Young, head of strategy from Truckbag, Simon Shao, head of financing on Food Truck Alliance, and Bruno Henriques from iFood. So,
all right. Thank you, Vanessa. Should we start our presentation now?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to be here. So it's my pleasure to share with you a little bit more about what iFood is doing in logistics. I think this is a very great topic. I have prepared some brief slides here to show a little bit more about our company and how we plan the future of logistics. So I will share with you just a quick second here. Yeah, now. So is it in the presentation mode now?
Yes.
All right. So a little bit about our mission, which is we connect the food to millions of consumers by supporting society's digitalization. This is our main goal at iFood. And just to give you a brief overview of our numbers and the size of our business, as you may know, iFood is a triple-sided marketplace. So we care about customers, we care about restaurants, and we care about delivery partners. And this is a little bit of our number now. So you can see our revenue growth year over year from March to September growing over 200%, which is basically also the pandemic pumped up a lot revenues. To give you an overview of what it means in terms of delivery orders. So it is in August, we reached over 44 million orders being delivered in a single month. We are present in more than 1,000 cities in Brazil. In terms of restaurants, our restaurant base is over 230,000 restaurants in our platform. And we take care of 150,000 delivery partners also, which are part of our ecosystem in iFood. And when we think about the future, actually, we believe that the way we eat will be disrupted, right? And talking a little bit about disruption, we see many problems that we are working hard to make it part of the past. So first of all, you see like waking up too early to prepare your breakfast, or spending too much with food, or being hungry and having no food at home, or you and your kids and wasting time to prepare food, or going to the supermarket and waiting and 2 hours in the line to pay your bill, or having bad quality dinner. So we truly believe that there are many problems related to food and how you eat on our day-to-day business that probably we can solve that issues for you in the future. And how we think about that. So we think that probably iFood will disrupt the way 50 million people eat using AI and technology. And there will be some time in the future where you just have to desire. And probably iFood will have exactly the perfect offer for you at the best price, wherever you are at the precise timing and without any effort. And this is our main goal for the future. This is our vision for the future. And that's where exactly where we are putting a lot of technology and AI to provide our customers the best meal experience as possible. Going forward, if you think about if this is truly possible, right? So you not only open your iFood app to order your pizza or your hamburger during the weekend, but you would rather ask for your food for your weekend, your weekday lunch, or your breakfast. So this is a huge opportunity for us. So we think about that. So people eat usually 90 times per month, and so iFood will be in your table every day in every meal. That's how we think about the future, and that's where we are deploying technology. But obviously, to make everything that possible, it's really important to think about logistics. So logistics is core of iFood. And here I brought you on this side of this is the only graph in my presentation. So this is the distribution of our demand per hour in iFood. So you can see there is one problem that we cannot solve, which is basically people get hungry or at noon or at 8 p.m. So, and our business is really, the demand is really concentrated. So if you think about those 44 million orders, what happens is that all of those orders are being delivered exactly in a very short period of time. And also, if you think about our customers, they are hungry, and so they're not really even willing to wait like 15 minutes for a delayed order to come. So all of our technology and all of data, AI, is being put to make everything possible. So when all of those orders come, so our systems have to manage how they will be delivered to the customers and meet the promised time and make our customers happy, make our delivery partners happy, and obviously the restaurants also providing a good service to our customers. And here, as you can see, we use motorcycles, we use electric bikes, we use scooters. So, and even the iFood box, which is one of our innovations we did last year, which is basically a locker where the drivers can just come to this place, deliver the packaging, and go for the next delivery. So it saves a lot of time when we use this kind of technology. So our view of the future is that we need to use even more technology to make everything happen and to make our dream come true and make it possible to deliver food for everyone at the same time. So, and this is one of our introductions this year. So actually, next week, our first drone will start in Campinas. So we'll launch in Shopping Guatemi with 2 delivery routes being tested over there. It's everything with the approval of ANAC. And here I brought a small video to show you how it will happen actually. So to the production, if you can make the video work now.
There's much being said about drones, and guess how your food will come to you. As usual, the restaurant prepares your food. The app uses artificial intelligence to find the best way of delivery. And if it's needed, #GoDrone. You might not even be aware of it, but as you click on Confirm Order, the first genuinely Brazilian low drone might join the other models in the delivery route. The flight operation is automated. High up in the sky, your snack will be safe. The coupling system is totally secure. The drone holds up to 2 kilograms. It can go up to 196 feet and it flies at 25 miles per hour. Then, your stomach will soon be happy. We'll have exclusive pre-established routes for our operations. But be aware, the drone won't knock at your window. It lands at the closest drone port of the delivery address. Once the order hits the drone port, the last part of the route up to your door follows by motorbike, bike or scooter. It's a win-win game. You get your fresh food and the deliverers have some extra help to deliver even more orders. This day has come and everyone is talking about it. Think of innovation. Think of iFood.
Great. So as you can see in the video, so drones will be part of our delivery fleet, right? So it's part of our transportation facilities and working together with the other like motorcycles or scooters or bikes. And here I brought you another innovation we are doing at iFood. It's called ADA. It's basically our autonomous robotic delivery partner. It uses a computer vision to drive and to run. It's completely autonomous. And for those who live here in São Paulo, you can see like the usage of this kind of technology will be like in tall buildings. If you live like in very tall apartment buildings, you can still have your pizza being delivered right to your door. So customers will not have to like go downstairs, meet the delivery driver, and get the food, but the food will come right to you, to your door. So in here also I brought you a very brief video about how ADA is working now. So production, if you can put that, thank you. All right, so that's everything I had to show to you. I think I hope it was interesting to show you a little bit about how we are planning the future of logistics at iFood. And now I will ask for the other panelists to join here with me. Thank you very much.
Hello, hello, my name is Gustavo. I'm the head of industry for the mobility industry here at Google. And first of all, thanks Itaú and icarros for the invitation. It's been an honor to be here. Vanessa already presented the panelists, but let me just do it again. I'll give 1 minute to each one of them. So I'm Gustavo, the head of industry of mobility at Google. We have Bruno Hicks, who just presented. He's the growth VP at iFood. We have also Ho Jun, the head of strategy at TruckPad, and Simon Shao, the head of financing at Full Truck Alliance. I'd like just to give 1 minute for each of the panelists to present themselves, and then I'll come back to introduce and make a few questions. So Bruno, if you want to just introduce quickly yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Bruno. I'm VP of Growth and AI at iFood. So I'm taking care of basically innovation and data science and growth. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. So
great, thank you. Ho Jun, please.
Hi everyone, pleasure to be here. My name is Ho Jun. I, as Gustavo pointed out, am the head of M&A and strategy at TruckPad. Basically, there I'm responsible for all our financing activities as well as M&A activities, as well as the strategic planning. Thank you.
And Simon, please.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Simon Shao. I am the head of investment and financing of FTA. FTA is China and currently the world's largest online virtual fleet and freight matching platform and online logistic marketplace. Our mission is to improve the overall efficiencies of the road transportation market in China.
Thank you all. So it's been really good to be here with you. So we're covering here all the aspects of logistics, and we're going to be talking about the future of logistics. And it's interesting to see that we have the truck part of it, which means the intercity logistics. And we also have the iFood here, which represents the last mile, the delivery part of logistics, which is also very important, right? So we were just seeing in the previous panel about the smart cities. And as the panelists pointed out, mobility and transportation, it's a vital part of any city, not only the city of the future, but the city of the present. So it's extremely important that we are discussing the future of it right now. So the first question I'd like to ask, it's regarding a little bit of the connection between the smart cities and transportation, but in the sense of what are the greatest challenges that you are seeing in your specific industry. So first trucking with Full Truck Alliance or TruckPad, and then the last mile delivery and urban logistics with iFood. I think we could start with the main challenges that, for example, FTA are overseeing in their market.
Okay, sure. For FTA, because we operate in the long-haul intercity market, it's representing the highest market share in terms of the road transportation segment. Overall, China's logistics costs as a percentage of GDP is very high compared to the developed countries. Currently, it's 14 to 15%. There are a lot of information asymmetry along the value chain. Specifically for the long-haul intercity freight marketplace, a trucker needs to drive 130 kilometers to a logistic park for finding a freight, and a shipper has to pay around $2,000 per year to rent a place. The matching efficiencies is very low, only until you wait 3 to 5 days before successful matching is taking place. There are a lot of disputes along the journey. Two sides have a lot of arguments. There's no credit rating mechanisms, etc. And the pricing algorithm in the long-haul logistics space is also very complicated. There are certainly around 14, 15 key parameters to determine a pricing rather than a short-haul ride-hailing model. So these are all the challenges that we could help to improve the overall efficiencies and reduce the costs afterwards.
Great, thanks. And for sure, it's technology, it's playing a big part of solving those challenges, right?
Yes, definitely.
And, yeah, sure, great. Thank you. And what about the last mile delivery main challenges? I'd like to hear a little bit from Bruno, please. If you shared a lot in your presentation already, but it would be great to hear a little bit more about them, please.
Yeah, I think obviously, as I said, it's very hard for us because all of our demand is not only last mile delivery, but they are very concentrated in 2 peaks during the day. So it's either at noon or either at 8 p.m. So I think technology to make everything happen is our key for our business. So we have to figure out how to optimize or the routing for like how the restaurants is, how much time is the restaurant taking to prepare the food. So all of this data collection from what is happening at that precise time is very important for us. So even if it's raining, the complexity changes a lot. So you see, so for us is very important to have a lot of data being collected and being processed in really milliseconds. So we have to take decisions very, very fast. So I think technology is a key enabler for us. Another thing that is very important for us is about also how the city will be prepared for that. Because if you think about real estate or how the office buildings are prepared to receive the delivery drivers, probably we need to put a lot of technology there to make all the ecosystem happen. So I think there's a big transformation going on for us in the cities going forward from now and like in the next 10 years, we can see that.
Okay, Bruno, and adding on that, just a follow-on on that, how do you see the impacts of 5G or Internet of Things or the full connectivity impacting the reality of this real-time precision technology that you're describing to us?
It's really, really important. You see, like it's not only about the algorithms that are taking decision, but that's about the time you take the decision. So if you can like take a decision a little bit earlier or a little bit, later, it's just a matter of seconds. And how you can send the information to the driver, how the information comes back to us. So, and everything is being processed. So I think the faster it gets, the better we can allocate drivers and the best the optimization will be. So it's really very important. I think every new technology that comes, there is another level of optimization that can be done in our business.
Great, thanks. And now asking to Ho from TruckPad, I'd like for you to explain to us a little bit of the difference between the traditional models of logistics in the segment, then from the marketplace model. which is kind of new, especially for the consumer, for the B2C market. So it would be great if you could talk a little bit for us about this marketplace model in the logistics segments. So please, Ho, if you could.
Happy to. So I think you know, a lot of the problems that Simon mentioned are existing in Brazil as well. So it's a incredibly informal sector where technology unfortunately doesn't play a big role yet in how a lot of these trucking companies as well as the drivers operate in their day-to-day lives. What we're really trying to do with you know, the new digital entrants and then TruckPad as well is to really shift that so that we can bring more efficiency through technology. The model through which we are trying to do that is what we call the digital freight marketplace model, where basically we bring the two sides of the marketplace. So on one hand, it's the transportation companies, the trucking companies, and on the other hand, you have the independent truck drivers. And through utilizing sort of our data on sort of the behavioral patterns as well as the profile of both sides of the marketplace, we're able to efficiently match this two sides. This is a lot more efficient than, so Simon mentioned in China, there are up to 5 days of waiting at these physical locations. In Brazil, a lot of the times you would have to wait on average a week, and oftentimes you would have to wait up to, in worst cases, 3 to 4 weeks just to be able to get your right load, because you have to go to a physical location and sort of find that. But with our marketplace model, we can recommend to the driver the right sort of shipment that they would need in order for them to be able to quickly accept. So it's a win-win for both sides. And this is a little different from, for example, the traditional model, because the traditional transportation companies take on a lot of working capital risks in order to be able to, at the end of the day, have to cover insurance as well as any liabilities that come with any issues or accidents that may occur on the road. Whereas what we really want to focus on is staying true to being a technology company. We want to be asset light, and that's what the marketplace model provides, because through the use of technology, and primarily technology, we're able to help create these connections more efficiently.
Great, thanks. And how do you think, and this also can go to Simon as well, but how do you think that this change, this new model, will impact also like other industries that depend on the logistics to do well, or even the economy in general? What do you think will be the impact of this new model in the whole economy and in other industries?
Sure. I can sort of start, and then would love to also hear what you have to say, Simon. But I think the greatest thing that this would help is, first, it would help reduce costs in the trucking sector, and for the adjacent sectors, right? So this long haul intercity travel basically touches every single sector of the economy that has to transport goods. So anything from agro to industrials to medical equipments, all will eventually need this. And what this sort of technology eventually provides, once we are able to scale it out to everyone and have them understand the importance, is predictability. So a lot of the times currently you don't have visibility into where your shipments are. So that really holds up the supply chain because it makes the planning process more difficult. You have a lot more accidents, you have a lot more theft. But through our usage of data analytics and being able to understand, who are the right people to carry the loads, we can get that to you in a much more faster manner. You can also know exactly when that's going to arrive so that you can plan out the rest of your distribution process and ultimately utilize that in order to grow your business. I think that's one of the key factors that will be exciting once we are able to scale this completely.
Great. Simon, would you like to add something?
Sure, I agree. I fully agree with Ho's comments. As the marketplace model, we provide a lot of infrastructure play to reduce the overall cost, increase the efficiencies, and increase the predictabilities or certainties of the route planning. In the same time, we are building a larger ecosystem that would not only facilitate the freight matching, but also increase the overall well-being of our truckers. For example, once they come to our marketplace for diesel recharging, for toll roads payments, for insurance, for micro loans, for truck sales, etc., we help to enable a more expanded ecosystem that would connect our truckers and reduce their overall working capital and enhance the well-being of our truckers as well.
Great, thanks. And definitely everything that you mentioned, like cost reduction and technology and safety, also plays an important role in the last mile part of the logistics, right? So I don't know if there's anything else that Bruno would like to add here. If there's something, if he likes to add of the impact of these changes in the last mile delivery, because at the end, like iFood is delivering food that came from that's from a restaurant that came from major logistic transportation from somewhere. So I think there's a connection there, and there's a cost saving reduction in the whole supply chain, and also a better use of technology and safety. So Bruno, if you want to add something, please.
Yeah, I think from our side is our business is completely last mile delivery, right? So we don't do the long haul. So it's basically from the restaurant to the food where he will deliver the food. So it's really a matter of a small amount of time. So somehow in the future, I think e-commerces or other players like Hyojun and Simon probably will connect together, because our logistics will be part of this fleet, and probably will be able to deliver other stuff rather than food also, because it's a huge amount of drivers, and there will be a connection in the future with the other parts of logistics as well.
Yes, a whole integrated system, right? Which would be great for everybody. Yeah. Great. Another thing that we would like to discuss, I think it would be great to hear from Simon. What could you share about the differences between China and Brazil in terms of logistics, and what were the main reasons for you to invest here in Brazil?
Sure. I would think that both China and Brazil are very large markets. Both countries have huge road transportation size. China is around 6 times the size of Brazil. But in the same time, I would think Brazil is right at the time of taking off in digitalization, and presents even higher growth rate than China. The reason why we picked up Brazil as our first international market is that we believe the market microstructure is very close to China, and it's very favorable for rolling out a matching platform, both in terms of very fragmented user base, role of the offline intermediary in the value chain, as well as the readiness in e-commerce penetration. There are lots of industry participants, including 2.2 million trucks, and around 180,000 transportation companies posting more than 4 million orders per month. We are seeing that the share of the online channels has never been that high historically, mainly through a clear conversion towards online channels, mainly previously through WeChat, through WhatsApp groups. Currently, it's mostly conducted in the online matching apps, and the industry has been pushed by more and more venture capitals to demonstrate a clear booming trend towards the valuation, etc. We believe that by using the technology and industry know-how that we have developed in China, it will certainly apply to a fast growth of the similar applications in Brazil.
Great, thanks, Simon. And now another question to Bruno. Bruno, you mentioned a lot about the new technologies in terms of the actual delivery, like drones, as you showed, And I think we would love to hear a little bit more from you on like how these innovations can make logistics better, especially in the urban part, right? Where in terms of reducing costs or speed or security. So we would love to hear a little bit more about from you about these new innovations.
So great, for sure. I think there are many use cases that we are planning to test. Obviously, if you think about São Paulo is a very hard city to test a drone because it's overpopulated, and a drone is truly aircraft. So it's something not easy to run in urban places. But if you go a little bit to the countryside of Brazil, like a city like Campinas, you see a different distribution of where people are living. You see like shopping centers in one part of the cities and very big condominiums a little bit far away from the cities, like 2 or 3 kilometers from the city. And those condominiums, those places where people are living, they have no access to this kind of restaurants today. It's very inefficient to use motorcycles, or it's inefficient to go pick up the food and deliver to the customer. So it takes a lot of time, it's expensive, so makes no sense for our business. So what we think is about, we want to test the drone as part of the logistics. It's kind of doing the long haul inside one city, and the long haul for us is about 3 to 4 kilometers. So basically what the drone will do in Campinas, and that's part of what we want to test, is pick up the food in a shopping center where you have a lot of restaurants concentrated, and bring those foods to like in a place nearby a very big condominium. And then afterward, the driver will pick up the food and do the very last mile delivery, the real last mile delivery. So this is one of the use cases we are testing there. The other one is even inside a shopping mall. If you think about a driver that goes into a shopping mall in Brazil and have to stop the motorcycle, go inside the shopping mall, find the restaurant, pick up the food, go back. So it takes like 12 to 15 minutes to do just this part of the pickup of the delivery. So if we can just have a drone port transporting the food from the restaurants to a place where the drivers it's kind of drive-through, right? The driver just comes, pick up the food and go away. So that we can save a lot of time also. So all of these technologies, they will enable a lot of time and be part of create a network effect that can make all this efficiency bigger, and the food come to your door cheaper, and also use drones for one part of delivery, and use the delivery drivers for what they are really good at, which is really the last mile delivery. So this is how we are thinking about drones here in iFood. So being part of the ecosystem.
That's very interesting. So it's a complementary. It's integrated with all the other types of deliveries. It's not that's it, right? It's everything integrated. So it's a big vision, which is amazing. And as you said, there are a lot of last miles within that last mile, right? And it's not only one last mile. So that's very interesting. I'd like to hear from Ho and Simon also, if they see some of those technology disrupting or complementing their business as well, in terms of the truck delivery or truck logistics or something like that. Ho or Simon?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think, what's really interesting is perhaps drones are a little bit, for the distances that we look at in the intercity, a little bit not appropriate, but I think definitely what the key importance is in order to sort of leverage, and I think this is true both in the last mile sort of urban delivery space as well as the intercity space, but really to leverage the volume of the network effects, right? I think for iFood, I imagine it's the same, but for our technologies to work, and in iFood's case, Bruno mentioned it's a triple-sided marketplace. But for this to really work, what really makes a technology powerful is once we also have the use, not the use, but the use by several different users, because that's what really helps bring the scale and gives that sort of effectiveness and efficiency to the technology. So I do think it's very important to recognize that while technology is very important, right, especially in the part of data analytics, understanding the consumer, understanding their behavior and profile, what do they need, and then being able to properly target that in order for us to really be able to offer that. I think it's always important that we are able to acquire that sort of mass and volume. And so looking at sort of the 45 million orders that iFood has, that's a lot of data that I'm very envious about.
Great. Simon, would you like to add something?
Yeah, exactly as Bruno and Hojun just pointed out, as a logistic platform, we collected and digested trillions of data every day on our platform. So ultimately, we want to become a infrastructure player that would optimize the kind of a one-stop logistics platform that connect the direct shippers towards our ultimate supplies end to end. So there will be more fully automated pricing algorithm that would be impacted towards the real order maker, and the system would be automated, the full route planning, and optimize the journey altogether. We would think that in the future, the most fancy part of our business is really to become a centralized dispatching system that would be predicting this route planning and understand what is the imbalance between the different regions. So I would think that the technology will enable us to have a stronger predictivities by looking forward into the supply and demand dynamics. That is really something that FTA is currently planning to do in the next few years.
Great, thanks. So we have 10 minutes left, and I'd like to hear from the three of you. What do you think that logistics will be in 10 years from now? So I know it's a lot of things are changing, right? It's very difficult to predict anything. But from your perspective, both in the last mile part, such as in the intercity transportation, right? I'd love to hear from the three of you. What do you think that will be the future of logistics? Obviously, specifically in your own markets, but in general as well. So I think we could start with Bruno. If you'd like to share your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think I shared a little bit about the future of how those new technologies are coming, exactly drones and autonomous vehicles. I think working all together to make the delivery. But I really think that logistics is a key part of our lives now. So I think today you order everything. So it's not just only food and get food in 30 minutes in your home, but I believe you can order anything and get anything like in 15 minutes in your home, because logistics will be a key part of the retail itself. So I think for me, there will be an amazing development in the technology, the way a lot of drivers and a lot of possibilities throughout the city, so that retail will be extremely, extremely fast, and you get anything in 10 minutes or 15 minutes in your hands, in your home. So that's how I envision 10 years from now, logistics being part of our lives.
Great. It's excellent what you point out. It plays a big role in e-commerce, right? And we're seeing the digitalization of the Brazilian population, right? So people buying online, everything, and so it indeed, I truly agree with you. It plays a big role in our lives and in the city as well. So it connects also to the previous topic from the previous panel of smart cities and connected cities, right? So indeed, transportation and logistics in delivery in general are a big part of the city, right? Are actually what make the city kind of live, right? Living. So thank you, Bruno. Ho, would you like to share your vision?
Sure. So I think especially of what I think in the intercity road freight transportation, the trucking sector is we see a tendency towards telemetrics, right? So we think Bruno mentioned autonomous vehicles. I think trucks are probably going to be one of the first areas where we're actually going to see that happen in the actual markets. And so we see this tendency towards automatization, especially even eventually getting to a point where there are completely driverless trucks. And so the key to really bringing all of that together is then sort of these sort of technologies, and that's why we believe TruckPad and Simon and Full Truck Alliance are at such an exciting place, because even with sort of autonomous vehicles, you will still need a dispatching system. You will still need it connected to the users who need these trucks. And eventually, I think this all ties into having ready availability, because at the end of the day, what this will allow is greater predictability, right? So once these trucks are plugged into systems like TruckPad that ultimately becomes a powerful dispatching system, we can also have a lot of stronger interactions with our receiving end customers and utilize that data to help make the stock available using predictive analytics. I think eventually that's where it's heading, so that a lot of this sort of management of the supply chain becomes a lot more automatized through these technologies and through incorporating the usage of telemetrics in order to help make that happen.
That's great. And how do you see the impact of that to the consumer at the end?
I think it will be a great time to be a consumer. Things will be cheaper. You'll be able to have things even faster than when you want it now. Right now we talk about 2-day delivery or same-day delivery. Now you'll be thinking hopefully in the future even faster deliveries, and really have the entire ecosystem be a sort of seamless connection. And so hopefully that's where we'll be in 10 years.
Great. I really like what you said. It's a great time to be a consumer, right? Because it's exactly, and I also agree that the impact of everything that we're discussing here at the end to the consumer, it's a reduce in the time, right? And also in cost and also in safety. So through the three things that you three mentioned as the cost reduction, which also it's a benefit for the consumer, but time and safety also really important topics that technology is enabling, right? Because at the end, technology needs to enable something better for the companies, obviously, but for the consumers. So, and it's really good to hear from you the real benefits that these technologies implies to the consumer. So thanks, Ho. And Simon, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the future of logistics in 10 years.
Yeah, sure. What FTA is currently building is actually to become a one-stop logistic platform that connects not only the so-called long-haul intercity demand, but also more and more into shorter haul, less than truckload, or even the express demand. So we are seeing that in the future, we will disrupt the whole industry by replacing a lot of the middlemen that would, in the traditional way, help to facilitate orders or making a decision on behalf of the shippers. So basically, FTA would like to connect directly with the shippers by offering the accurate pricing and realize a fully automated fully closed loop transaction from the shipper directly with our truckers. So that's going to be realized very soon, and we believe that with the accuracy that we have developed through the big data accumulation, the one-on-one direct to direct pricing will become fully automated and very much workable in the near future. And in the same time, we are also seeing the autonomous driving truck, a inevitable trend that's going to take place in the near future. Having said that, we have invested strategically autonomous driving company in US. They have become the first one in the world that has been commercialized, and they will mass produce the autonomous driving trucks in the first half of next year. That will enable around 80% in the diesel cost, as well as 40% in the labor cost. They will drive autonomous trucks on the highways of L3 level in China, and with the regulation being implemented, we are seeing that this is going to happen sooner or later in China. So in the medium to long term, FTA would like to become a platform that connects not only to the trucker drivers, but most importantly to the trucks. So we will aim to become a centralized dispatching platform to predict the supply and demand imbalances across the regions, send the truckers to those areas that really needs the trucks. For example, you have seen a very high fulfillment rate in the developed regions in China, like 70 to 80% fulfillment rate, but in remote areas like Tibet or Xinjiang, you are seeing less than 5% fulfill rate. So how to optimize the truckers' asset utilization and increase the overall efficiencies is definitely resolved by accumulation of the transaction data that we have been so far very successful in doing so. So one-stop solution and also a fully automated process will be something we're aiming for in the next step.
Great, thanks, Simon. And thank you for all the answers. We're heading out to the end of our panel, and I hope it's been interesting for everybody watching us and for you participating as well. For me, it was really, really interesting. Everything that you brought and everything that you said makes it's really interesting to see the future and how things will shape in the future of logistics, which we just discussed. It's in our daily lives as consumers, right? So it's extremely important for us to discuss and understand better about it. I'd like to thank Ho, Simon, and Bruno for the participation, and also thanks Itaú once again for the invitation for us to participate here and discuss a little bit about the future of mobility in general. I know we have 2 more days coming up. And to do the final remarks for this first day, I would like to invite Vanessa from Itaú to give the full the closing remarks for today. Thanks again, Ho, Simon, and Bruno for the participation. Great to share this panel with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you for moderating the panel. Bruno, Ho, Simon, again, thank you very much for participating. It was a great discussion. I am really excited about what's coming and how technology is evolving and impacting the mobility, right? All the connectivity and the combination among the different kinds of mobility, right? How we are with all interconnected and taking advantage of AI, blockchain, so all those technologies, 5G, that are coming together to help us to have a more efficient way of transportation, right? I think that this was a great discussion, And it's really exciting just to know what's coming next. So tomorrow we are going to have a beautiful agenda. We are coming with electric vehicles.
I think you can speak in Portuguese.
Tech and telematics. I believe that Bonzo can join us with the remarks as well and give us his opinion about what we are, what we saw today and what we are going to show tomorrow.
Agora em português, certo, Vanessa? Voltamos pro...
Podemos mudar o português, tem razão.
A maior parte da audiência tá escutando a gente em português. Bom, primeiro, acho que foi super legal o painel de hoje, os dois painéis, né? Porque tudo que foi falado, né? Tanto no primeiro painel, que falou de 5G, de integração e depois de logística, né? Não só impacta os nossos negócios, mas também impacta a nossa vida do dia a dia, né? Como usuário, como consumidor, né? Esse negócio de recebermos, né, as encomendas em poucos minutos, né, da agilidade, né, e como a infraestrutura tem que estar muito bem desenhada para suportar, né, toda essa demanda que virá dos consumidores e que foi posta à prova esse ano, né, com todo mundo trancado em casa, né, a gente recorreu de uma forma muito massiva a serviços de entrega, como o próprio iFood que estava aqui, aos deliveries, né, de produtos ou shoppings, compras que a gente fazia nos marketplaces aqui para entregar as coisas em casa. E não foi diferente com a indústria que a gente está inserido, né, a indústria automotiva, né, isso também aconteceu com a indústria automotiva, né, os marketplaces foram mais requisitados, a tecnologia foi testada, posta à prova, e a gente está tendo que transformar também a nossa indústria. Por isso que bacana a gente enxergar que tem toda uma discussão aqui voltada a 5G, infraestrutura, as cidades conectadas de fato para permitir, né, toda essa interconexão entre consumidor e provedores de serviços, né, e produtos, e como é que o setor que organiza essa entrega está olhando não só a automação, né, para os long ranges, né, para as entregas de mais longa distância, mas também como é que ela está olhando o last mile, né? Até no modelo, às vezes, one-to-one, né? Como é que ela entrega no modelo quase que unitariamente aquele produto na casa do usuário.
Foi bom mesmo. Eu acho que isso só mostra, né? Como que a gente está hoje utilizando, né, as tecnologias para trazer essa inovação, né? E melhorar, trazer eficiência, trazer essa qualidade maior no serviço também. Eu acho que...
Você viu o pessoal da FCA, né, falando um pouco de como o 5G, né, a integração do automóvel, né, na rede vai transformar a experiência do consumidor quando ele está usando um carro, né? O carro, ele passa a não ser só o que te locomove, né, te transporta do ponto A para o ponto B, mas ele também te transporta para uma outra experiência, né, de você poder fazer um shopping...
de negócio, né?
Você usar ele como meio de pagamento, você ter outro grau de interatividade, né, com o seu automóvel e uma outra aplicação para ele. E é muito legal ver a indústria, né, já olhando para esse futuro que já não é mais tão distante, né? A gente falava do 5G há um ano como fosse uma coisa extremamente distante e a gente começa a ver o 5G cada vez mais próximo, né, chegando aqui no Brasil, né, que é onde a gente está estabelecido. Você está em Nova York, né, nós aqui no Brasil, estabelecidos no Brasil, a gente já está vendo o 5G chegando e aqui a infraestrutura começando a se preparar para permitir o uso dessa tecnologia.
Exatamente, acho que a gente pode prever que vem muito modelo de negócio novo, né, contando o que aconteceu até agora, né, depois do 2G, né, do 3G, do 4G, como isso foi evoluindo, né, os novos serviços, né, Uber, Google Maps, que antes, né, só foi possibilitado a partir das tecnologias, com a evolução das tecnologias, então agora a gente pode ter uma visão daquilo que está vindo, então, com 5G. Com certeza, novas ideias, novos modelos de negócio vão surgir. Né, mas essa parte de sensores, conectividade, IoT, né, tudo isso, o impacto que isso vai ter na parte de seguros, né, não só na evolução da automação do veículo, mas também em toda a parte de telematics. Né, então, a gente pode prever um grande avanço nesse sentido, né, para baratear os custos também e melhorar a eficiência, né.
E isso, Vanessa, ele puxa muito a nossa discussão de amanhã, né, que a gente vai ter painéis para falar sobre veículos elétricos. A gente vai voltar na questão de infraestrutura, né, quando fala de eletrificação, né, então aqui a gente vai contar com o pentacampeão da Stock Car, o Cacá Bueno, vai estar falando com a gente amanhã nesse painel. A gente vai ter o Managing Director de Latam e Caribe, da Jaguar Land Rover, o Frederic, o superintendente de produtos de canais digitais do Banco Itaú, o Paulo André, vai estar fazendo cara, me fugiu a palavra, agora me ajuda aqui, fazendo a moderação do painel, né, a moderação do painel, e a gente vai ter o pessoal da Smart Driving Labs, que trata de telemétricas embarcada no veículo, né? Então, acho que esse tema, e para telemétricas funcionar bem, a gente tem que ter redes bem instaladas de 5G, alta velocidade, de banda de internet, para não correr o risco do que aconteceu hoje no começo da nossa transmissão, né? A gente teve uma latência na nossa transmissão, acabou atrapalhando um pouquinho a fala do Zancani, provavelmente pela chuva que a gente teve aqui em São Paulo, né? Então, amanhã tem esse assunto super legal de eletrificação que vai estar. A gente vai falar de insurtechs, né? Que você falou de seguros,
vem o
né?
O Raj da Microsoft, que é o líder do setor, né? Trazendo essa parte de tecnologia, qual é o futuro da mobilidade, futuro de telematics, né? Como que a Microsoft também atua no setor. Não é uma proposta, não é um painel de vendas, né? Mas sim o que tem impactado e quais são as tecnologias que eles estão trabalhando e que tipo de oferta ele vê, como que isso muda, inclusive a parte de agribusiness, qual é o impacto nessa parte de todos os sensores, né? De grandes veículos aí, agropecuários também, os sensores nas farms, né, nas fazendas, tudo isso traz uma mudança muito grande, né, no comportamento e como que isso pode trazer a eficiência também para o setor, né? Então, a parte de mobilidade, com serviços, tudo conectado pela tecnologia. A gente vai ter o R3 falando também sobre a blockchain, como é que blockchain está associado também na indústria, trazendo mais segurança. O Alex, que vem da Uncork, falando sobre como isso também impacta, toda a parte de telematics impacta na parte de seguros. Então, a Uncork é uma empresa também de tecnologia, uma startup de tecnologia para a área de seguros, com plataforma no-code, né? Então, é bastante novidade que a gente vai ter aí amanhã para conversar e para mostrar para os...
Vamos parar de dar spoiler para as pessoas ficarem curiosas para amanhã, né, Vanessa? Que senão o pessoal não vai querer vir assistir. Então, assim, pessoal, não esqueça da nossa hashtag. Como é que é a nossa hashtag mesmo, Vanessa? Que o pessoal colocar lá para marcar quando fizer a distribuição dos posts.
Itaú Mobility 2020.
Itaú Mobility 2020, certo? Para o pessoal que não entendeu o que a Vanessa falou. E assim, galera, vai ser muito bacana o dia de amanhã. A gente tem o terceiro dia, que é a quarta-feira, né, que é o último dia do evento. Para quem assistiu e gostou, entra no YouTube, né, na página que você está assistindo, compartilha, né, a página do evento. Amanhã as pessoas que não tiveram a oportunidade de assistir hoje podem assistir o evento de amanhã. E a gente vai tentar trazer um pouco mais de novidade para vocês, do que vai impactar não nossa vida profissional, não só os nossos negócios, mas a nossa vida pessoal, né, a nossa dinâmica de casa, né, também. Vanessa, eu vou passar a bola para você para fazer os agradecimentos finais e aí a gente já se despede de hoje da turma.
Não, só queria agradecer a todos os participantes e quem está assistindo. Espero que tenham gostado, assim como eu adorei aqui participar e ouvir de pessoas aí, líderes da indústria, passando um pouco para a gente o que tem de mais novo acontecendo, o futuro, aí, como é que vão ser as cidades conectadas também, a parte de Smart City. Só tenho a agradecer essa oportunidade. Obrigado, Bonza, também, mais uma vez, por ter dado essa oportunidade de trabalhar com você, montando esse evento e trabalhando com gente tão inteligente, tão importante no setor. Obrigada.
Vanessa, eu que agradeço, foi muito bacana o dia. Pessoal, muito obrigado pela participação de todos. Deixem seus comentários, né, lá no chat do YouTube. Se achar que a gente tem que melhorar alguma coisa, quer deixar uma pergunta, pode deixar lá no chat do YouTube também. A gente vai tentar direcionar essas perguntas para os convidados que vieram. Todos esses convidados, o nome deles está na relação do evento, então, se você tiver curiosidade, você pode adicioná-los no LinkedIn, procurá-los diretamente, fazer uma pergunta, caso você tenha uma pergunta direcionada a qualquer um dos palestrantes que participou hoje aqui no nosso Texan Mobility 2020. Pessoal, muito obrigado, um grande abraço a todos e até amanhã, na capítulo 2 da nossa jornada de Mobility. Um abraço.
Tchau.